Welcome to Book Time with Ryan. I'm Ryan, and today I'll be talking about Steve Alten's MEG, a novel of deep terror. Not to be confused with The Meg, which is the movie. This is just MEG. I finished this in 2 days. I enjoyed it, and I will tell you what I thought of it. But before I go into the book, the last few videos I've done, I did before work. And what I'm finding out is I have a weird look in my eyes in the morning. Like, I'm not totally awake. I just got a shower. I still have like the sleepy eyes kind of thing going, I think. So sometimes I'm like doing weird stuff with my eyes, just trying to keep them open more or something. I don't know what it is. But if you've watched the last few videos, just know that there's nothing wrong with me. That's not why you're seeing this. It's because I'm waking up earlier to do these things. I don't like doing it, but it is much easier to just do it in the morning and then not have to plan at night to do it. So anyway, Meg. What is this about? It's about a megalodon. Oh, I should have my megalodon tooth. This book is about the megalodon. And I have a megalodon tooth. Woo! Now, this is the way I've displayed it, like this. But when I went to the aquarium in Baltimore, I guess the National Aquarium, I was looking at the model megalodon jaw that they have there, and it looks like the rounded part is actually the back part, and it kind of comes up like this. I always thought this was the front, but I think it may be this from looking at the model, because the other ones that were further back in the jaw that haven't like erupted or whatever yet were like this. So they kind of rotated that way. I don't know. But this is my megalodon tooth from when I was much younger, and that's how nerdy I am. This is about a prehistoric shark. We have our main character is Jonas Taylor. Jonas Taylor was a Navy commander. He has this theory that Megalodon never died off, that Megalodon is actually in the Marianas Trench and is surviving down there. And one of the pieces of evidence he has for that is that they found a tooth in the 1800s that was only something like either 10,000 or 80,000 years old. I forget which now. But they found this tooth, and it proved that Megalodon had been around much more recently than we thought. So the theory was essentially that Megalodon was being targeted by the ancestors of killer whales, orcas. Large pods of orcas were hunting down Megalodon, and Megalodon went deep in the Marianas Trench, and then kind of hid behind the thermocline, and then over many years evolved to just reproduce there and predate on things that were below the thermocline, where there was heating from hydrothermal vents on the seabed. We're talking like 36,000 feet below sea level, which is crazy deep. There's this project to have an early detection system for earthquakes to warn against tsunamis, and the gear that's associated with that system has broken, and they don't know why. So they're going to have this little expedition to the seafloor, the bottom of Marianas Trench, to figure out why these things are breaking. And they go and they find Jonas, and they bring him back from retirement because Jonas had a little bit of a breakdown. 7 years before this book, he had been involved with a dive in the Marianas Trench and freaked out. He thought there was a shark, although he doesn't tell everyone that. and kind of did emergency ascent. And during that, 2 of the scientists that were with him died. And then he was dishonorably discharged from the Navy. Went back to school, got his PhD. Congratulations, way to go, Jonas Taylor, or JT. And that's where we are now. So, Jonas and Tanaka, which is a family, a Japanese family, the brother DJ, and DJ and TJ, head down to see where this gear is and try to recover one of the pieces of gear so they can determine what's breaking it. While they're down there, they're attacked by a megalodon. A male megalodon attacks and kills DJ, and while the research vessel is trying to recover the submersible, the male megalodon gets stuck in this wire that they were going to use to winch up the gear that they were recovering from the seabed. So this male megalodon gets stuck in the wire, and while he's getting pulled up, a female megalodon attacks and eats him. And the male megalodon's bleeding. So as they're going through a thermocline, and there's this divide between the 70-something degrees from the hydrothermal vents and then freezing water, she essentially rides up through his warm blood past the freezing part of the ocean, which is a good chunk of it. So that's a lot of blood that you'd have to lose for that entire trip up. And then eventually makes it to the warmer part, the surface kind of ocean, and then starts wreaking havoc. A lot of people doubt Jonas because they thought he freaked out. He actually went to a hospital after the accident, and he's been doubting himself ever since. His wife is cheating on him. She's an up-and-coming news star. She's really a bitch. Like, I don't like her. And you wouldn't like her either. Nobody should like her. But don't worry. She meets a pretty rough end. The book is basically just them trying to figure out where the MEG is, and they want to try to capture it because Tanaka has an aquarium that he wants to, like a very large open aquarium that he wants to hold whales in, that he basically wants whales to be able to go in as a safe area to reproduce, gray whales specifically, and then leave, and they realize that this might be a place that they can hold the MEG. So there's a lot of tracking down the MEG. There's a lot of death. A lot of destruction. It's Jaws on steroids. I don't know how much of the facts in this book are based off of theories on Megalodon and how much of it is just great white shark applied to a Megalodon. I don't know. But there's a lot of bloodshed, and there's some pretty violent deaths in this. And that's really it. It's a short book. I mean, it's almost 200 pages, which I thought it was gonna be longer than that, but I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. There were a few things that annoyed me about it, which I'll tell you about. And this happens in MEG, but it happens in other books too. People think of transportation as almost like driving in a car. And you think, if I have to drive 10 miles, I can get there in no time. On a ship, that's not the case. A ship is going 10 knots, maybe 15 knots, so 10 or 15 nautical miles per hour. And when you increase the sea state, it's even slower. So if somebody is 30 miles away, in trouble, and you're on a ship, even a 274-foot ship, which is what the research vessel in this book was, it's going to take you a while to get there. This is not I'll be there in 10 minutes and I'll pick you up. You add on to that there may be land, there may be shoal water, whatever it is. There's a lot of things that can get in the way of you doing a straight shot to the ship anyway. And it's not always easy to pinpoint where you're going. Ships move. even if they're dead in the water. They're still subject to currents. And there are instances in this book where ships cover not an extremely large area, but a large enough area in a very short time. And to do that, they would have to be going 20 or 30 knots. And ships aren't doing that. Not the ships in this book. The other thing that gets on my nerves sometimes, and this is not unique to MEG, I've seen this in other books, but there's an idea that certain ranks have all of this power in the military. In this book, there's a Navy commander who is investigating these deaths at the Naval Station Guam. And then he authorizes the Nautilus, the USS Nautilus, which is a retired nuclear submarine, the first. It's small. It's from the 50s. Like it really does look like a hybrid between what we have now and the diesel submarines of World War II. It's a museum in Groton, Connecticut, at the Naval subbase in Groton. So this commander in Guam calls up the Nautilus out of retirement, which is not ready for, certainly not in the amount of time that they're talking about in this book, to have a captain who's retired come out of retirement to command. The Nautilus is old. People aren't qualified on the Nautilus. The Nautilus is essentially permanently anchored to a pier in Groton. It has, you take tours of it. You can go down inside the Nautilus. So this is not something where they would just flip a switch and it's ready to go. This is, and I don't know this. I don't know how long the Nautilus has been in Groton. I mean, it was definitely in Groton when this was written. I don't know. So this commander does all this, and it kind of blows up in his face. My classmates from the Coast Guard Academy are commanders. They don't have that kind of authority. Even an admiral, really anybody, would have some serious hoops to jump through to reactivate or recommission a ship that is, or a boat, since this is a submarine, that is a museum. And not only that, but in Groton, but then the action is taking place in the Pacific. It's not a short trip either. And it's not a fast boat. So that was just two things that they got on my nerves. Just the reality of space and time for ships, and basically the assumption of authorities that certain ranks don't have. It's a commander is a senior rank, but a commander is not a rank that can do whatever he wants. Like, there's a lot of checks and balances in the military. So those were the only two kind of pet peeves that I had. There were little things here and there, but really, I mean, this is the MEG, right? It's a prehistoric shark that's living in an area that, I mean, the other thing that I would have thought is a megalodon is huge. Was huge. Huge muscles. A lot of energy. One of the major limitations for sea life is the oxygen levels, dissolved oxygen in the sea and the ocean. The deeper you get, the more oxygen constrained or limited there is, and you get to a point where animals have to be very efficient, and they can't move quickly too long, because every time you move, muscles need to use oxygen to react. If you're 36,000 feet below sea level, there's not much oxygen. I don't know, like trace amounts of oxygen. I don't think it would support, even in theory, a large fish like this. One of the benefits to a sperm whale going deep is that it stores a lot of oxygen, and it can use that efficiently. And it's hunting down something that really can not move quickly for an extended period of time just because of the oxygen usage. I don't know how a MEG would bypass that. But a lot of reading a book like this is suspending disbelief. Like, it's a fun book. It's a prehistoric shark. It's a giant Jaws. Twice the size of Jaws, which Jaws the Revenge is using a size of a shark that you would not see. But this would be twice the size of that, which actually makes it seem smaller. And it's just a fun book. You read it because of the action, you read it because of the bloodshed, and kind of the horror of thinking about, no matter what size ship you're on, with some exceptions for very large ships, a 60-foot shark is a pretty scary thing. I think it would have been cool to have some kind of showdown at the end with killer whales predating Megalodon. I think it would be very cool, and I know there are other Meg books, if a Megalodon went to battle with a Leviathan, the basically sperm whale-like whale, prehistoric whale, that was an apex predator. That would be cool. But that would be kind of a mix, I think, of Meg and Jurassic Park, because there's no way a mammal would be that deep and survive. They have to come up for air. So I liked it. I thought this was a fun book, especially for the summer, especially if you're going to the beach. Meg, stay in the shallow water. You won't have to worry about megalodons. And I recommend it. It was fun. So have fun. Enjoy some books that you just need to suspend disbelief for here and there, and just enjoy the book. And that's Meg for me, 4 stars. So thanks. Have a good one. Bye.